Now I'll move on to the next session. To proceed us, take us through the next session, I would like to invite Mr. Arun Seth, and he's a board member of Narayana Health and HelpAge India, Nudge Foundation, and Give India, and also ex-chairman NASCOM Foundation and British Telecom, and a wonderful person, well connected across the healthcare world. Mr. Arun, I request you to introduce the next speaker and take us through the entire proceedings.
Thank you, Raghu, and thank you, Rekha, for a wonderful setting of the scene. We now have Dr. Devi Shetty, who actually needs no introduction at all. And this session will go on for about 20 minutes, at the end of which we will have some question answers from the audience. So Devi, I know you're known as Dr. Affordable globally, using technology. That's a given. The question is now we need those solutions now to help us get through this crisis, and then get to the new normal later on. I'll just make a couple of things which for you to pick on. For example, social distancing is not something that was the norm. We've broken the trust between two human beings right now for the time being. How can we use technology for that? So that's just a lead in. But I'd like you to give us, before that, because there's a lot of WhatsApp University out there, which everybody knows from. So maybe you want to start off by giving what's the real picture for all of us, and then build on top of that as to where technology can help us in the short term and in the medium term. I don't know whether there's a long term yet.
Thanks. Can I start, Arun?
Please, all yours.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Arun, and thank you so much to the organizers for the opportunity. First of all, I would like to give a message to all the budding entrepreneurs, startups, that whatever plan they have for the healthcare intervention tools, software, various things, what they want to do, they should not revolve it around COVID, because the epidemic will disappear in no time. I don't know whether it will take 1 month or 1 year. And what do you do with all the investments and all the effort you put in when the epidemic is not there? And also, you have to understand how this industry works. I'll give an example. A month ago, the debate was entirely about ventilator. Now, everyone jumped into making ventilators. And the lot of new technologies emerged to make different new type of ventilator, connecting one ventilator to the other ventilator. But very few of you have seen how the ventilator works in the ICU at 2 o'clock at night. We have busy ICUs with 200 bed, 300 bed ICUs. And it's a very stressful place to work. When we buy a ventilator, we keep on buying the same ventilator, not because we like the company, because our nurses are familiar with all the buttons and the switches and the idiosyncrasies of each ventilator. Every time we buy a brand new ventilator from a different company with the different configuration, invariably we land in trouble. And when the ventilator malfunctions, the result is in 2 minutes of malfunction, you have somebody brain dead. Some intervention. Can I continue?
Yeah, please continue.
Yeah. So if you are designing a ventilator for a COVID ICU, my request to all the entrepreneurs is that do not design it for the COVID ICU. Design it for a ventilator during peacetime, because COVID ICU is the most stressful place for the doctors and nurses to work, because For the first time in our life, normally when as doctors and nurses, when we are in the ICU, our only intent Hello, can you hear me? Okay. So essentially it's a very stressful place. In that kind of a situation, you come up with a brand new ventilator which has never been tested. It is not the ideal place. So, and the worst thing is, all these ventilators, when they come out to the market, who's going to buy it? Next 5 years, believe me, there is enough, and nobody is going to buy a new ventilator for the next 5 years because everybody bought that many ventilators already. Now, more than anything else, take it from me, every hospital in India is broke. They have no money. Whatever money they made all these years is finished in the last 1.5, 2 months. So the last thing they want is to acquire a new machine. So I feel very sad when people have spent so many hours of their hard work and so much of money in trying to develop all this technology. So my advice for all the entrepreneurs, if you are trying to develop a product, do not revolve around COVID. If it helps COVID, it's good, very good. But
Yeah.
when the epidemic is over, do you have a market? Because it's a lot of effort. You are lifelong, so much of money is invested. Now, coming back to what is required in terms of essentially, why are we doing all these tools? We are doing the tools to make healthcare safer for the patient. There are only 3 strategies for us to do something in healthcare. Make healthcare safer for the patient. Second thing, make healthcare accessible to the patient. If every patient has to go to a city to get the healthcare, that is not the best solution. And make healthcare affordable to the patient. Then, more than anything else, make art of delivering healthcare to the patient an enjoyable experience to the doctors, nurses, and medical technicians. You may come up with a fantastic tool, but if it is so difficult for us to use, it is of no use. You would have the electronic medical records of US cost billions of dollars. They really cost billions of dollars. Now, electronic medical record, EMRs, are one of the top reasons for the doctors getting fed up of the profession and doctors getting burnt out of the profession after spending so much of money. But they have no options. So essentially, when you are designing a product, there are certain criteria. You should have a very clear objective. And the next clear objective is always find a hospital as a partner. Generally, the tendency is you have something in mind about healthcare. You identify some retired doctors, explain to them what exactly you want, and he will come up with his own advice what needs to be done. The most important thing is when somebody says, I will help you to develop the product, you should ask one pointed question. When the product comes, are you going to buy it? If he is not going to buy it, don't take his advice. So it is very, very important that the partner is a large hospital, not an individual doctor, because the decision on buying is made by the hospital. Of course, the doctor's input is very important. And the hospital should have preferably some kind of a skin in the game. Either they get some preferential shares or something so that they have an interest in it. Otherwise, they look at you as an intruder. And if he is willing to, if the hospital is trying to partner with you because you're giving them some money for this work, don't take them as partners. So these are my suggestions. Now let me come back to the actual 1 minute. Let me just 1 second.
Raghu, how are we doing on time?
I can't hear you, Raghu.
We have 8 more minutes to.
8 more minutes. Okay, let me just 1 second.
Then we have a
Okay.
Q&A with
Yeah.
you.
Sure. So the what are the products you can think about? I will give you some of the simple examples. One is a tele ICU product. COVID or non-COVID ICU, it is desperately required because today when you talk about a hospital, 10% of the or 20% of the hospital beds are ICU beds. 10 years from now, 90% of the hospital beds will be ICU beds. That is the largest growth segment in healthcare, ICU beds. Now, when that happens, the most important change what will happen is the shortage of critical care specialists, intensivists. And intensivists, if you tell them that they have to stay at the ICU 24 hours, you're not going to have anyone working for you. Let the intensivist stay at home and they look at their the laptop or a mobile phone. Let them monitor the patient in the ICU. And if this is done, this will make healthcare safer for the patient and comfortable for the doctors. Because essentially, the moment you say doctor has to be there physically, then you have a limitation in scaling up. Other tool is the electronic medical record. Young entrepreneurs really think about getting electronic medical record. Doctors like to use, and doctors have very clear thought exactly how the electronic medical record should be. First of all, doctors don't like keyboard. They hate keyboard. So it should be based on the touch. Then the electronic medical record, when you give it to the doctors, if you say there is an instruction manual, they will throw it at your face and they are not going to use it. It should be very intuitive. So if you can accomplish these two, and the third thing is, if you want them to buy the EMR, they're not going to buy it, not because they can't afford, because they don't know whether they like it. You could say that pay us as you use it, like a pay-per-use model. If you build on these three criteria, believe me, you have a big market. And one of the things I would like to request all the entrepreneurs here to develop is a new cardiac monitor. Yeah, I'm sure you have visited ICUs. You see one big computer-like thing hanging near the head end of the patient called cardiac monitor. You may not know that costs between 2 lakh to 8 lakh rupees. Why is it costing 2 lakh to 8 lakh rupees? Because each monitor is an independent entity. And what it does, it just takes the data from the patient and displays it in the monitor, like any other monitor. We have in one building 300 ICU beds. So we have 300 such monitors. All you need is a software to get the data from all the sensors from the patient and one processor to process all the images, and a dummy monitor is displayed near the head end, and you can do all that. And then it will hardly cost 10,000, 20,000 rupees. Now, why this doesn't happen? Because there are only 3-4 players in the market and they have the monopoly and they don't want to disrupt the business system. So fortunately in India right now, we are not saddled with all these draconian regulations of patient safety, and which is meaningless. So market is still open for the entrepreneurs to design something. Then let me come back to something very, very important, extremely important. There is no market right now. There is no product. The biggest problem we have, you must realize that the patient in the ICU is not taken care by the doctors. They are taken care by the nurses. And nurses come from different regions and their English is very, very poor. Because the English is poor, they have a problem in communicating. And when they have poor communication, patients are unhappy, doctors are unhappy, they don't have the self-esteem. If you can come up with a software, a simple app which can use in a mobile phone, there are only 300 questions patient ask. If the software can ask 300 questions and they answer in English, and when the English is wrong, the software will correct it and they can keep on improving. A simple app like this can really transform the way patient is taken care by the nurses. I have many other ideas. I think we are running short of time, so I'm at your service. Feel free to ask me any questions. Arun, I can't hear you.
Varun, you seem to be muted.
Yeah, thank you. I've been unmuted.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you, Devi. Devi, that was absolutely fascinating, the way you described it. And so we are going to move very quickly on to questions, otherwise we'll run short of time. But I'm pretty sure the audience is going to have tons of questions for you, Devi. 10 minutes is not going to be enough, but Raghu, we'll need to find a way to get to Devi and do him. And Rekha, just if you notice that this is all what we were doing called remote infrastructure management. Now we call it remote patient management.
Yes.
So we have a new category called RPM. And by the way, Rekha, we should give Devi honorary social sciences degree, not a doctor's degree.
Not just honorary social sciences degree, I would say frugal innovation and frugal technology, use of technology ideas. So all of that.
Maybe you've been given a new honorific today.
Thanks.
So
Thanks.
can I get the questions are coming? 1 second.
Okay.
Devi, the first question is from Chandrasekhar. Saying we at Watson.in and CureTail.in are making reusable face shields which can be sterilized and reused, making disposal of film-based shields thrown out, avoiding piling up of plastic medical waste. Is this something that is needed, or what would your thoughts be?
I wouldn't use it. The reason is, anytime we make these reusable product for this dreadful disease like COVID, you are going to infect these poor class 4 employees working in the hospital. They have no idea about COVID. They are the ones who are going to clean it and they will get infected. And the reality is, the visor, what we use it, that costs some 40-50 rupees. It is really not worthwhile trying to reuse it. So we have made a policy that we are not going to reuse any of those. This reusable thing is very, it is okay when the product costs 5,000, 10,000 rupees, not when it costs 30 rupees or 100 rupees. Not worthwhile. Yeah.
Thank you, Devi, for that. Then I think somebody, Shubhendu Patnaik is saying, tele-ICU is really innovative. Does that mean the patients will be expected to have ICU set up at home?
See, the ICU setup at home is nothing to do with the tele-ICU. What we are, ICU setup can be run at home, but there has to be a nurse there to take care of the patient. And the doctors can monitor the patient from remotely for a chronic patients, not the acutely ill patients. Chronic patient who had a stroke, they're recovering from the stroke. Those patients can be managed at home. What we are looking at is a acute ICU, where patient who's desperately unwell has come to the ICU, or a patient who had a heart operation or a brain operation, they are recovering. So this is what we are looking at.
Wonderful, Devi. And just since you used your favorite comment of 90% ICU beds, sadly we are at 100% today. But
Yes.
I hope we go back to 90%.
Yes.
I'm sure we will. So then Bonnie Dave is asking your thoughts on the boom seen in walk-through sanitizing chambers. How effective are these walk-through sanitization chambers?
So far, there is no evidence to show that, see, anything which works in few seconds, you assume it doesn't work. because you have to realize that these are very live organism. If there is something which can kill them in few seconds, there is something wrong. So the all these things, it looks very impressive, but there is no evidence yet to show that it works.
Okay. The next person is Krishnan. Sharda is saying, can you suggest some combination of technology in alternative medicines, such as homeopathy, Ayurveda, or something? Is there something out there? What are your thoughts on that? Because there's a lot of knowledge in India.
I am not an expert in this area, so I really don't want to misguide the person. But I'm a very strong believer of yoga and meditation. Yeah, I believe it's a great gift India has given to the world. Yeah.
Then the next question is there any country hospital you think that is leveraging technology through innovation better than others? I can answer that for you. It's Narayan Health.
Oh, thanks, Arun. Yeah, you know it from very close. Yeah, thanks.
One second. I think we should be getting through now, Raghu.
Yeah.
This is gentleman Satyaprakash Katuria is saying, thanks, Dr. Shetty. This is so insightful. Seeing so many broken supply chain issues, does a healthcare marketplace make sense within COVID and post-COVID?
They didn't get the second half of the question.
Is there a healthcare marketplace? Like you have Amazon for stuff. Is there a healthcare marketplace?
No, essentially, if somebody wants to innovate something, I prefer more than the marketplace. Our biggest problem is we use more than 10,000, 15,000 different types of materials in the hospital. If somebody can come up with a very, very cheap RFID or the one barcoding or whatever, so that we can, every time we use a product, we can keep a track on that, and a software to tell us exactly how much money we spent at the end of 5 days or 10 days. That will really, really help us, because today, believe me, no hospital knows how much money they spend on doing a heart operation or a brain operation. Everyone comes up with all kinds of figures, but they are not really realistic, because there is no way we can keep a track on what we use over a period of 5 days, 10 days, 20 days.
Okay. I think we should be getting to the last question, Dr. Shetty. I know there are too many questions. The question is, which is back to the pandemic going on. What's your view and thoughts on strengthening the surveillance system for epidemics?
You see, the COVID caught everyone off guard. America was the most prepared country to face all these pandemics. You have seen how the COVID-19 pulled the rug under their feet. So essentially, this is unprecedented. But believe me, next epidemic, now we have become very, very smart. We will be able to address it. The issue is, at the end of like today, when we are talking about even treating the disease, there is no protocol, there is no standards, nobody knows how to treat, whether to treat the virus with the antiviral or whether we treat with steroids. So even the containment strategy or even the tracking system, still we are not very clear. But my suggestion is, virus will remain for few more months or maybe 1 or 2 years. Only way you will be successful now is, first, don't look at India as an amorphous homogeneous country. Just look at it like Europe. Like the virus, the way the patient will respond, I mean the virus will be controlled, will be dramatically different states. Goa will do well, Karnataka will do well, Kerala will do well. Some states may not do well. But if the state governments plan to give the entire power to the district administration and give them the right power to do as many tests as possible, because if you don't do the test, you're not going to win. Okay, as many tests as possible, then track the patients, the contacts, and quarantine them, then we will win. And long term, this is the only strategy. You can't have a national strategy. Everyone has to concentrate. It is exactly like what Henry Ford once said: there is no big problem, there are thousands of small problems. So if we can break the problem into small problems, you will win.
Thank you, Devi. I think that was really insightful. I'm sure the audience and the participants have really enjoyed this. So over to you, Raghu, and thank you so much, Devi, for all this side, because I'm pretty sure our audience is just itching to come to Narayan Health and do a collaboration. I have many questions on that. So we need to find a way to get everything to Devi. I'm happy to be involved in that. I mean, me and Devi work together on many innovative stuff, so I'm happy to be the point person for that.
Arun, thank you so much for wonderful moderation. And Dr. Devi Shetty, I've been hearing you face to face on the webinars. It's wonderful delight to you always come out with something new, either by way of an interventions or innovations, or even now today I learned about the greatest challenges what we can face. As you know, NASSCOM has been working on technology platform for quite some time. And soon we are going to launch a mega challenge, innovation challenge across the country. And I think through Arun, I will reach out to you.
Looks like
solutions. And these challenges will be a kind of eye opener for many of the innovators. And thank you very much once again for your wonderful time on this.